On a weekend where the Reds celebrated the greatest starting lineup in the history of Major League Baseball, the current Reds did their best impersonation with a sweep over the hottest team in Major League Baseball. With strong starting pitching and even better bullpen, blazing speed on the bases, and plenty of clutch hitting, the Reds recorded one of the best weeks in team history. After the 6-1 start to this homestand, they're a game and a half back in the NL Central. The Reds can't let down now as the Chicago Cubs come in for 3. It's time for Reds baseball only on Fox Sports Ohio. Muggy night in downtown Cincinnati. Crowd rolling into Great American Ballpark. We're down to the final 3 weeks of the regular season. The Chicago Cubs in town to take on the Reds. And hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. A game and a half back now. And breathing down the collective necks of the Pirates, who play later tonight in Texas. And Chris, what else can you say about the way the Reds have played on this homestand? It has been unbelievably exciting baseball.
You know, a lot of people are looking to this homestand saying, uh-oh. Well, the Reds show them what the uh-oh is all about. When you go 6-1 against the Cardinals and then the Dodgers, the hottest team in all of baseball, 4-1 in those one-run ball games, 2 by walk-offs against the Dodgers. I mean, it's exciting baseball right down to the very end. Nail-biting 9th innings. That's what it's all about late in the year.
Early in the season, we talked a lot about the Reds beat up on the bad teams. Case in point, these Cubs, they've dominated them. Look at their record prior to August the 6th. But, Chris, since then, when Oakland came to town, very different ball game.
Well, it certainly is a different ball game. Since the August 6th, 12-4, so there should be more believers out there in this Reds team now than earlier on. But, you know, at the end of the year, they don't ask you who you beat. They ask you how many times you beat them. And, of course, the Reds have beaten up on this Cubs team an awful lot. We hope that that trend can continue.
Well, you look at who they have to play. They've got 3 more against the Cubbies. They go on the road, 3 Milwaukee, 3 against the Astros. So that's the immediate next week and a half schedule.
Well, it is. And the Brewers are a team that the Reds have handled. They've done pretty well in Milwaukee, but especially when you come to Houston. Remember Houston, when they were in the National League, they were really the whipping boy of the Reds the last few years. And the way they're playing this year, if you play good, solid baseball, the better team will win and prevail in that series.
My, oh my, here we go. A game and a half separating 3 teams in the Central. A former Red, Travis Wood, gets the ball against Bronson Arroyo. We'll talk more about that matchup when we return. By Tri-State Orthopedics. Here's Scott Demick from the WKRC Weather Department.
Hello, everyone. I'm meteorologist Scott Demick. If you're heading out to GABP tonight, it will be warm and it will be humid. First pitch temperature 86, final out 79. Of course, the weather's just right if you're watching the game on Fox Sports Ohio.
Scott, thank you. And it's all been just right for the Reds against the Cubs and Bronson Arroyo against the Cubs.
Well, you're not kidding about that. Lifetime against the Cubs, he is 13-9, but here this year, he's a perfect 2-0, earned run average right around 2. The Cubs haven't been able to figure him out. They've had a lineup of a lot of young players coming in and out, having never seen Arroyo before, and that can be awfully tough when you're trying to negotiate, 10 or 12 different types of pitches that he throws up there. Meanwhile, Travis Wood, former Red, having a great year for the Cubs. He's not getting much in the way of run support at all. That explains only the 8 wins that he has. But overall, he's pitched very, very well for this Cubs ball club, and he's really saved his career and made himself a big part of the rotation going into 2014.
And really a microcosm of his entire season. You see the ERA fractionally above 3.5 against the Reds. Yet, not only no wins this year, Wood has never beaten Cincinnati since leaving the Reds. All right, can the Reds keep this momentum? We'll find out shortly. Just about set for baseball. The Cubs in town for back-to-back night games. Day game on Wednesday, and Dale Swain's starting lineup has Starlin Castro, Luis Valbuena, Anthony Rizzo at the top, former Red Deanna Navarro catching, Nate Shearholtz in right, Ryan Sweeney in center, Ryan Bogusevic is in left field, Darwin Barney in second, and left-hander Travis Wood on the mound. Bronson Arroyo set to go. Battery mate with Brian Hannigan. And Arroyo gunning for win number 14. He's lost 10 and an ERA at 3.62 on the year. Castro, a very disappointing season, looks at a breaking ball, a strike, and we're underway.
29 starts for Bronson Arroyo, 13-10 record overall. He's 13-9 lifetime against the Cubs, but a whole lot better than that over the last 15 games he's pitched against them.
Castro did not like the call. Our home plate umpire is Mike DeMuro. Paul Level at first. Alfonso Marquez at second. And the crew chief, your good friend of mine, Chris Welsh, Mr. Ted Barrett. He is a regular on Tech Talk. And that's good morning, good afternoon, and then good night for Mr. Castro.
You know, it's almost unfair to send a right-handed hitter up there to lead the game off against Bronson Arroyo. I mean, because when he's picking away at that outside corner, you're going to think that that outside corner is about 4 feet away from home plate because you chase a little bit. You're looking out there. He gives you what you want, but a few inches off the plate, and you begin to expand it, and you just can't stay off lane after that breaking ball. There's what I'm talking about. The right-handers are still only batting 220s against Arroyo this year.
Valbuena in from the left side, the starting third baseman at 226, 10 home runs and 34 runs batted in. Arroyo deals him a strike on the inside corner. Frazier a step in on the grass at third, and that's pulled hard and right off the glove of Votto down in the right field corner. And Valbuena at second base with one out here in the first inning. Votto playing that one off to his left side rather than staying directly in front of it, and more than likely will get charged with his team high 14th error of the season. So now Anthony Rizzo, powerful left-handed batter, 21 home runs and 73 runs batted in. Ball one away. Two of the guys the Cubs are building this franchise around. Castro, whom we saw a moment ago, having a really rough year. And really, depending on what statistical category you look at for Rizzo, he's had his ups and downs, but still a very young man. Straight away center field and playable for Shin-Soo Choo. Let's take a look at the Reds on defense, presented by your Ford dealers. Frazier, Cozart, Phillips, and Votto around the infield. Ludwig, Chu, Bruce, left, center, and right. We've told you about the batter. What an unbelievable weekend of baseball. And boy, if that gives you some kind of idea about not only what's in store for the rest of this season, but of course, depending on how it plays out looking ahead to the month of October. I think a lot of people, not only locally, but especially nationally, with all the national coverage that series received over the weekend, well, the Reds and the Dodgers might be a pretty doggone good best of 7 LCS down.
Well, you're not kidding about that. A lot of people thought it was a preview of what they may see. Hey, there's that sidearm changeup again. And the deeper we get into the season, you know, Arroyo has never thrown that pitch before this year. And a lot of teams haven't seen it yet. Let's take another look at it. He just drops down. Normally when a guy drops down, it's going to be a fastball or curveball, but he's got such good control of all his pitches. He drops a changeup in the low 70s mile per hour wise right on the outside corner.
Came back with a fastball that time on Navarro, the former Red backup catcher from a season ago. 305 batter, career high 12 home runs and 31 runs batted in. The Cardinals have the night off. They will open a series tomorrow night against the Milwaukee Brewers. And the Pirates will start a 3-game series. They've drawn a tough card when you've got to jump over into the American League, a team the Reds dropped 2 of 3 down in Arlington, the Texas Rangers, and that's where the Pirates will be in about 50 minutes from now. There's a base hit into right field, and they are going to, well, they were waving the runner around to try and score him, and now they have the runner Navarro caught in a rundown. And the tag is made, and the Cubs run themselves out of the inning. Well, that has been something that has been almost a staple of Chicago Cubs baseball for a long time. Bad running at third, bad running at first. after the Cubs run themselves out of a scoring chance in the top of the inning. Chris, what in the world was going on?
Well, Luis Valbuena is looking over his shoulder here instead of picking up the third base coach, David Bell. Bell's waving him around the whole time, but Valbuena seems very reluctant. I mean, have you ever seen base running as bad as you see it right there? I mean, we've seen some funny base running, and Valbuena's thinking, hey, there's going to be a play at the plate, but Brandon Phillips sneaks in behind him right there, and they provide the out. Valbuena, meanwhile, are standing on third base. So that is a bona fide toot bland right there.
And give it up to Brandon Phillips. I mean, I know he's supposed to be there, Chris. You practice that all the time, but normally you get into September, you get late in the year, and maybe guys lose a little bit of focus. Phillips was right there. That wasn't a big turn by Navarro.
No, it really wasn't. It was an aggressive turn, and that's something that he probably should have seen coming, but he figured that there would be at least a play at the plate right there, figuring with 2 outs, man on second base, ball hit into right field. Even with Jay Bruce's arm, you got to, the way the Cubs are scoring runs, don't you have to go on that? And Luis Valbuena thrown out on the base pass like a Cubby.
Shin-Soo Choo to lead things off. We'll give you the rest of the Reds batting order here in a moment. Choo at 291, 20 home runs and 48 runs batted in. Of course, that only tells part of the story for Choo. Votto's walked 116 times. Choo at 97. A duo trying to become the 4th set of Reds teammates with at least 100 walks in a season. You got to go back to the 1911 year for the first group. And then the Great 8, a combination of Morgan and Bench in 72, Morgan and Rose in 74. In the air, will back up Ryan Sweeney, who makes a catch, and Choo retired. The rest of the Reds batting order under manager Dusty Baker. 20 games over 500 for the first time all year. Phillips coming up, followed by Votto. Bruce, Frazier, Ludwig in the middle. Cozart, Hannigan, Arroyo, the latter third.
Now Wood gets his 29th start overall in his major league career. It's his 90th start. He is 25 and 34 lifetime, under 500 this year, despite a real good earned run average. All the peripheral numbers very good for Wood, except run support. Cubs are simply not getting any runs for him at all.
Tonight, his 5th start against the Reds this season. In 3 of the 4, he has allowed 2 runs exactly. 6 1/3, 4 hits, 2 runs in April. Reds scored 5 off of him in 5 2/3 in May. On June the 12th, 7 innings, only 4 hits, 2 runs. Wood got beat 2-1, and then shut out when in 8 innings he gave up 4 hits and 2 runs, exactly 2 months to the day later. Brandon will loop one into right field, and that'll be a 1-out single for the Reds second baseman back in that number 2 hole. After a brief stop back in a cleanup spot over the weekend. So now the Reds first baseman Joey Votto at 303, 22 home runs and 66 runs batted in. Off the outside corner, a ball. Joey on this homestand, 6 of 26, a double, a couple of home runs, has walked 8 times. 2-0.
You know, Wood has somewhat of a track history against the Reds so far. I mean, he's pitched against them. He's only this season, but you've seen what he's done. And there aren't all that many players in this lineup that have done much against him. Joey Votto, not one of them. 6 starts overall against the Reds, 0-4. But Votto 1 for 10. Chu 1 for 11 now. Jack Cozart 1 for 16. But Todd Frazier's hit him pretty well overall with a couple of home runs. Jay Bruce has got a couple of home runs off of him.
And a broken bat base hit through the left side and into left center field. That'll be a base hit for Votto. Phillips on to second base, and here come the Reds with 2 on, 1 out. Jay Bruce, who homered twice against Clayton Kershaw in the game last night, coming up. Hitting those 2 home runs against Kershaw last night. Bruce, the first left-handed batter this season to do that against a Dodger ace, and only the 3rd left-handed batter ever to do it. The other 2, Adam Dunn and Colorado Rocky Carlos Gonzalez. Of course, Gonzalez sees Kershaw a lot more than everybody else playing in the same division.
Well, Jay Bruce just continues his home run assault on left-handed pitching. And it started a few years ago. He has established himself as one of the most prodigious left-handed hitters to hit homers against southpaw pitchers. Not an easy thing to do, because normally that's the one spot the left-handed pitchers can do. Want to get left-handed hitter up there. You may get a base hit, but normally left-handed pitchers keep those guys in the ballpark.
And those 10 against the southpaws this year, the most among all players in the National League. In fact, he has more than anybody. Right-handed batters or left-handed batters against left-handed pitching since 2010. Fastball up and in, a swing and a miss, 2 out in the inning, and here comes a guy you just gave his numbers against Wood a moment ago, Todd Frazier. Frazier, the game-winning hit here on Saturday to plate the winning run. Of course, it was Ryan Hannigan providing the heroics with that double down the left field line. It scored Cozart from first base to beat the Dodgers last night in the bottom of the 9th inning. Strike 1 to Frazier. Frazier's came on Saturday afternoon against Brian Wilson. The throw by Puig, no chance to get Billy Hamilton. Valbuena backs up on it. And the inning is over. The Reds get a couple of hits. They strand a couple of runners. No score at the end of 1. Ford F-Series trucks, the best-selling truck in America, 36 straight years. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Book your stay at CincinnatiUSA.com. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. Folks enjoying a nice dinner there out at the Riverfront Club.
Oh, that's a great place to watch a ball game.
Great food, too.
Oh, we interrupted dinner for a baseball game.
Scoreless game. Cubbies come to bat here in the second inning. And by the way, we had a scoring decision change in between innings for those of you that maybe keep score during the game. And I know there's some of you out there. The ball off the bat of Luis Valbuena, originally ruled an error on the Reds first baseman Joey Votto, has been changed to a double. So the Cubs have 2 hits. Nate Sherolds. Well, you're talking about a guy who's really made the most of finally getting a chance to play every day. And you could say, well, he's playing for a bad team and all those kinds of things. And all that might be true. But this is a guy who was basically a 4th or 5th outfielder, would play a little first base from time to time with the San Francisco Giants. Went over to Philadelphia in that Hunter Pence deal. Then came to the Cubs during the offseason. He's gone swinging to begin the inning. He's put together a nice season.
He has put together a nice season, and he's a guy that a lot of people were surprised it was not dealt at the trading deadline. There are some people out there obviously looking at him. He's only 29 years old, Sherolds is.
Now Ryan Sweeney looks at ball 1 low and away. Just activated off the disabled list at the beginning of this month. Landed on the DL after suffering a left rib fracture when he crashed into the Safeco Field wall back at the end of June in Seattle. Signed a minor league deal with the Cubs in early April after being released by the Red Sox at the end of March. In the air right field, Jay Bruce back to the wall, and the Cubs have a 1-0 lead on a home run by Ryan Sweeney.
The 6th home run of the year for Ryan Sweeney. That ties him for a career high. Now 28 years old. Didn't got a lot of it, but one thing that we've noticed here, Tom, is the weather is heated up. Wind blowing out of the west a little bit right down the river, and the balls were really carrying well in batting practice, and he got that one just enough to put the first run on the board for the Cubs.
23rd home run allowed by Bronson Arroyo this season. And now the batter is Brian Bugasevic, former #1 draft pick by the Houston Astros as a pitcher. Never worked out for him. Gives you an idea what kind of athlete he is, however, making the move to a position player and still able to make the big leagues. Bogusevic a swing and a miss, 2 balls and a strike. Bogusevic not liking that high strike, a fastball called by the home plate umpire Mike DeMuro. That'll even account of 2 balls and 2 strikes. Told you the Pirates playing later in Texas. Pirates will get a look at Yu Darvish in that game tonight. Garrett Cole will counter for Pittsburgh, swept over the weekend in St. Louis.
Yeah, there's no doubt sprung a leak, and how big a leak is up to question, but of course they're playing a very good Texas Rangers team, and they may be facing one of the best pitchers in the entire Major League Baseball there with Yu Darvish. When he is on, look out.
Of course, the Rangers are in a similar situation that the Reds are in, and the Pirates are in, and the Cardinals are in. They're strike 3 to Bogusevic, in that they want to win their division, obviously, instead of having to play in that one-game wild card. And right now, the Texas Rangers are a game and a half behind the Athletics for the American League Western Division lead. So they got a lot to play for. That one dropped into center field by Darwin Barney as a 2-out base hit. 4 hits in the game now for the Cubs against Arroyo. Right now at FoxSportsOhio.com, Kevin Goheen writes that the Bengals have only themselves to blame for that loss to Chicago. Braxton Miller injured over the weekend. Will he be available when the Buckeyes hit the road to take on Cal? And Hal McCoy ready for your questions. Just go to Game Connect and click on Game Talk. FoxSportsOhio.com has it all. This will be the final out of the inning, but a home run by Sweeney gives the Cubs a 1-0 lead after an inning and a half. Sneak in a peek at Chicago defensively, brought to you by your Ford dealers. Bogusevic, Sweeney, Shearholtz left, center, and right. Sweeney homering for the game's only run in the top of this second inning. Valbuena and Rizzo on the corners. Castro and Barney up the middle. They're very good on defense up the middle. That infield defense, and Wood and Navarro the battery. Let's take a look at our Meyer text poll question tonight. What's been the most impressive part of the Reds during this 6-1 homestand? 1, starting pitching. 2, their bullpen. 3, their clutch hitting. And 4, the base running. 4 stolen bases and 4 tries for Billy Hamilton. Text 1, 2, 3, or 4 to 37664. Normal messaging rates apply. We will show the results later in the broadcast. There's no debate that all of those areas have been exceptional when you go 6-1 against 2 of the best teams, 2 division leaders in the National League, Cardinals and the Dodgers. Dodgers had not lost 3 games in a row since early June. The Reds had a couple of hits, stranded 2 runners in the first inning, and here's Ludwig, Cozart, and Hannigan against Travis Wood in the second. Strike 1 to Ryan. Certainly just coincidence, but it is interesting that we were mentioning Billy Hamilton being 4 for 4 for his major league career. Has not had an at-bat, has not played in the field. 3 of the 4 times he has come on to pinch run, it's been after Ryan Ludwig led off an inning by getting on base. 2 hits and a walk.
Kind of like a package deal.
Yeah, it's got to be Ludwig, and then it's got to be Billy. Boy, is he exciting.
Huh.
Man,
that's a weapon.
1 ball and 2 strikes. And Ludwig out of there. Second strikeout of the game for Wood.
Yeah, both strikeouts for Travis Wood have been the high fastball. He went upstairs against Jay Bruce. He goes right upstairs against Ludwig. And, you know, it's not like Travis Wood throws all that hard. I mean, he registers 88, 89, 90 on the radar gun. Sometimes when his arm's feeling good, it'll be in the low 90s. But normally it's right around 88 to 90. But he's got a short arm delivery. He gets that ball right up behind his left ear very quickly, and the ball doesn't sink much for him.
Cozart at 254, 10 home runs and 53 runs batted in. First pitch swinging, or second pitch swinging. First strike he saw. 1 ball and 1 strike on Zach. Cozart coming in on quite a roll. A career best 13-game hitting streak in which he's batted .373. It's his second longest active hitting streak in the major leagues, behind Denard's span of the Nationals, who has a 19-gamer. Castro, a long throw, and what a play by Starlin Castro. My, oh my, as deep as you can get in the hole and short. In fact, both of his feet on the outfield grass. What a play.
And about as close as you can get at first base. I mean, he just has to plant, throw off balance. Had a good stretch down the other end by Anthony Rizzo, and they get Zach Cozart, I mean, barely. You know what Rizzo did on that play, I think, is very interesting. You don't see all that many times the first baseman do, is when he saw that ball coming high, he actually tiptoed on top of the bag so that he made sure that he got an extra inch or 2 of height. And that's what allowed him to get up without and catching that ball without actually having to jump to leave the bag. Because had he jumped, he would have not been able to come down in time. Here's what I'm talking about at the very end of the play. Watch his foot right down here. He's standing on top of the bag to give himself a little bit more height. Like putting little lifters in your shoes.
I could use some of those. And there's strike to Ryan Hannigan.
You already had him in.
No, but I need him. We have to go hunting around for him. Maybe right around the playoffs. All of a sudden show up and be a little bit taller.
Maybe high heels would be a better look.
That would be a much better look. You're right. I'll go there first. Hannigan, a hero on that double down the left field line against Belisario last night. Well, that kid Withrow that came in last night. Man, was that guy throwing hard. Heard Barry Larkin talking a little bit. He was in the television booth last night. Part of a 3-man booth, and was talking about how back during his playing days, which of course weren't all that long ago, 6-7 years ago, how you might see 1 or 2 guys coming out of a bullpen throwing 94, 92 to 94, but most guys pitching out of that bullpen, pitching right around 90, 88 to 90. And everybody that came in from the bullpens last night for both of these teams, obviously Chapman, Withrow, Belisario, among others, 95 plus seemingly every pitch.
Well, you better get used to it, because that's more and more the trend. How about the young arms the Cardinals brought up here? I mean, their 7th guy in the ball game in that 16th inning game was throwing 99.
Fly ball in the short left field, and the Reds are gone in order. We play 2-1 nothing in front, Chicago. Serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK-OHIO. It is a weekend that many Reds fans will never forget. The Great Eight together on the field here at Great American Ballpark for the first time. And of course, all here to rally around their friend, their teammate, greatest second baseman of all time. The unveiling of the statue right when you walk into Great American Ballpark. The sculpture, I should say.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Joe Morgan. And you threw out the first pitch. Joe, kind enough to join us here in the booth. MVP, those back-to-back World Series championship titles for the Big Red Machine. And have you even come down off the proverbial cloud 9 after just an unbelievable weekend?
Well, your dad got me off today. I played golf in this tournament. It was 110 right over there or something.
Yes, it was.
And all that humidity, it got me down very quickly.
But what a weekend, right? I
have to tell you, look, and you've known me a lot longer than Chris has. I am truly humbled by just the outpouring of the fans for the Great Eight, because I think you know me well enough to know that's where my heart is, as being part of the Big Red Machine. We were a group, and that's the way it is. And I think it came out on the field when I said, you know, I would like for them, every time you pass my sculpture, you wouldn't only think of Joe Morgan, but the other guys that on the Big Red Machine that helped me to get that statue. So statue got me calling a statue, that sculpture. But I'm just humbled because the fans, I mean, every place I go, the fans are saying what a great weekend, this and that. And I got a great text from the great Pete Rose today, and it was saying basically the same thing, that he had such a fabulous time and what a great weekend for us.
Up and away, and it's ball one to Luis Valbuena. He doubled up the right field line in the first inning. You know, you're going to be asked this from now, you know, till the end of time, but you know, when you look back on a weekend, and I think oftentimes I remember when you went in the Hall of Fame, I remember when my dad went in the Hall of Fame, Johnny went in the Hall of Fame, and you ask those guys, you know, if there's one moment you remember more than anything else, it's not always a moment when they unveiled the sculpture out there. It's maybe not always the one moment when you were surrounded by your teammates. What would it be from this weekend you walk away and say, man, that is one moment in time I'll never forget?
Well, it really started early.
This one starts late into the night. Long gone. A double and now a home run by Valbuena to make it 2-0 Cubs here in the third.
Trying to make up for that base running.
Yeah. What really started for me, Tom, when I asked the commissioner for permission to have Pete Rose on the field with me, and he immediately said yes. I'm gonna do this for you. That right there told me that this was going to be a great weekend for me and for the fans. And obviously, when we came on the field on Friday night with, you know, and it was so emotional for Pete. I don't know if you were here or saw it. You couldn't have been. You were gone for football. But it was very emotional for Pete. And I looked over at him and I laughed at him, and we kind of got back on track. But that's when it started for me, just being there with all those guys again. We had not walked on a field together since 1976, the fourth game of the World Series when we swept the Yankees. So that was pretty special. And I thought that was going to be the biggest thing I remember. But I have to tell you the truth, I had not seen the sculpture when it was finished. So when we pulled that off, my family and I pulled that thing back, I tell you, I don't know how I kept it together. I really don't. Because at that moment I realized, you know, what it meant to have that sculpture where it is placed in this ballpark. And so that's going to be the moment I'll always remember, having my 4 daughters around me, my wife, and pulling it back and seeing it for the first time.
What a play by Brandon. How about that? Even, how many Gold Gloves you have? Five of them?
Yeah.
You'll even applaud that play.
Oh, yeah, and it's tough now because he's got a little leg injury. He's not quite as quick as normal. He's, you know, so, yeah. I definitely would applaud that play.
Joe, when you guys took the field on Friday night, I mean, it was a very emotional time, but maybe for nobody more than Pete Rose. Right. I mean, did I detect some tears? And
yes.
If I did you guys talk about that, or what do you think was going through his mind? Because it took him a long time to walk from that dugout along the first baseline all the way to third base. And the closer he got, the more emotional he got. What do you think was going through his mind?
I think he actually took the walk slowly because it was building within him. He was feeling the emotion of, you know, being on the field again and knowing that the other guys were going to follow like we used to do, as they say. It was just a special thing for me, you know, to see. I'm standing there and watching number 14. You know, I see the back of his jersey go out like I've watched so many times. And I just think that he probably took advantage of it as much as he could. He took it slowly. He walked as slowly as he could. He waved to all sections of the stadium, you know, the crowd, and obviously they were going crazy.
You know, a tip of the cap. Oftentimes, it doesn't matter what sport you're the commissioner of. I mean, you show up and you get booed. You know how it goes. But I mean, a tip of the cap. Yes. On behalf of all Reds fans, to Commissioner Bud Selig for allowing that to happen. Obviously, it has so much to do, everything to do, Joe, with your relationship with the commissioner. But nonetheless, that was a.
He could have said no to me.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
That's
so
right.
He didn't say no to Reds fans and all of us everywhere. I think. Look, remember I started my speech at the unveiling. I said, before I start, I want to thank the commissioner for allowing Friday night to happen for us here in Cincinnati. And I meant it wholeheartedly, and I'm going to call him first thing in the morning and thank him again. I actually talked to him on Thursday night, I think it was, or Friday morning I talked to him and made sure everything was still a go, you know. And he said, go for it. So I really, you're right. He deserves the tip of the hat.
All right, when you guys all got around, what kind of things were you talking about?
Same as usual, getting on each other, remembering plays that should have been made that were not made. They're testing him, right? Look, you can see that he's a little gimpy out there, but they're testing him.
Oh, you can stick around in the half inning.
Yeah, I will.
Okay.
Thanks.
Home run in the inning by Valbuena. What a weekend. What a weekend. Take a look. Home runs, one by Ryan Sweeney, the other by Luis Valbuena. But how about the two plays by Brandon Phillips?
Joe, you've made these plays before.
Well, my legs were good, though. he's doing it with a bad quad.
Yeah, you can see he's wincing right there. That was after the second one. He actually went into the Reds dugout, hooked up with Paul Lessard. They went up into the tunnel. And I'm not sure what the status of Brandon's going to be. He's a hard guy to get out of the lineup.
Yeah. But you don't want to be out there if you can't go control your position and cause this team. Look, we're down the stretch now.
Yep.
Every game, every play makes a big difference, so you can't make mistakes.
So if you look at that from Dusty Baker's standpoint, you're down the stretch. You don't have the division wrapped up or anything like that. You're still knocking on the door of first place. But you're probably going to be in at least a wild card playoff. Do you look for a way to give a guy a rest, especially a guy like Brandon? Maybe he's got a leg injury, or do you say, hey, we got to grind it through here? I'm
a believer in grinding when it's necessary. I'm not so sure it's necessary grind at this moment because we are in a good position. A healthy Brandon is worth a lot, but you do not want to get it where he's injured and then have to play him when he's really hurting, or he has to go on the disabled list. Well, you don't need to go on the disabled list anymore, but I'm just afraid that it could turn into something bigger if you continue to, because once you get tired, once your muscle gets tired, that's when you pull it.
Joe, I want to ask you about this whole wild card thing.
Yeah.
Much was made. Your good friend Bob Costas, obviously, among others,
Yeah.
were crazy about the idea initially. Now this one-game play-in, adding another wild card team to each league. One, do you like it? And do those of us that sit up here in the booth, or maybe those that do talk radio or write about it, make a bigger deal out of a one-game playoff?
No, I don't think it's. I like the first wild card. And I had big arguments with John Miller and Bob Costas about it. And my reasoning was, when you have a wild card, you will definitely have the two best teams in the league in the playoffs. Remember the year the Giants won 100 games and the Braves won 101 or whatever? The Giants didn't get in. Philadelphia got in winning 85 games or something. They were the third best team in the league. So when you have if they would have had a wild card, then the Giants would have gotten in, and then you would have had the two best teams in the league in the playoffs. Now, the one-game playoff bothers me simply because you play 162 games. You're going to play a lot of games out here. And all of a sudden it's down to just one single game. And we all know baseball is not like the Super Bowl in football, where you get a week to prepare and get ready for that one game. Baseball is a daily grind. And I just don't like the fact that you have a one-game playoff. I thought they said that they were going to change it after that.
I did too.
And I haven't heard anything about it.
Joe, on a weekend for baseball, they have the Dodgers in town.
Right.
That had to remind you of back in the days of the Big Red Machine. They were arch rivals, and Sparky and Tommy Lasorda going at it. That had to be that must have clicked back your memory a little bit.
Definitely. Tom wasn't here, but when I was on the field, I looked over and Davey Lopes was standing there. And like I said, it's great. It's only fitting that we're playing the Dodgers because they were our chief rivals. And Davey Lopes is a guy I had all the respect in the world for because we played hard against each other. And that's what I loved about the rivalry back there. We played hard against each other. No hard feelings. We just played hard.
Shin-Soo Choo hit on a 3-2 pitch. No intent there, clearly.
No.
Travis Wood hitting Choo.
All right, now, Joe, you bring up Davey Lopes.
Right.
In the Reds dugout, you have Billy Hamilton.
Correct.
I mean, you've seen him. You've seen him in spring training. You know what the kid could do in the minor leagues. I mean, this is a real weapon.
Real weapon. The interesting thing to me is everybody wants to say, well, can he hit in the big leagues? He doesn't have to hit a lot to be important. Obviously, the more he hits, the more important he's going to become. But, I mean, if he just gets on base every once in a while, it changes. We've seen what it changes with the game. And the one thing I've said to people about Billy Hamilton, I went down to Louisville to work with him a couple of days, and I've seen him in spring training. He has a good baseball intellect. He understands the game, and you tell him something once, and he really understands it.
Should be noted, by the way, that Billy Hamilton today is celebrating his 23rd birthday. So happy birthday to Billy Hamilton.
Well, let's hope he gets in and helps win another game.
That's exactly right. 2 away in the inning after the pop-up by Brandon Phillips, first player in Major League history, 4 stolen bases in his first 4 career games. He's not played the field. He's not had a plate appearance. 4 stolen bases, 3 runs scored. That ain't all bad.
Amazing.
Joe, we can't thank you enough for coming up tonight and for obviously, not only your graciousness over the weekend, but I know I speak on behalf of so many people, especially those of us that have the opportunity to grow up in Cincinnati, watch the great Big Red Machine teams. Extremely blessed to have gotten to know you as a very little boy. But I mean, the fact that to have you back in this organization again, it just means so much to all of us. And it's just great seeing you here on a daily basis.
And it's great for me to be here. Let's face it, I really enjoy being here, seeing the players in the clubhouse, having a chance to say hello to you guys. And just being here, Cincinnati. And I said this at my speech. You weren't there. I said, with all apologies to Tony Bennett, I left my heart in Cincinnati when I left here the first time. And I really did. And I just can't thank the Castellini family enough for bringing me back and allowing me to be part of this organization.
Well, I know those were some moving words by Mr. Castellini for you, too.
Man, I tell you.
That one into left field, and it'll fall in the base hit. So Votto a couple of singles the other way. And now Jay Bruce with a chance. He had 2 on in the first inning. He has 2 on here in the third inning.
Yeah, I have to tell you, I had to go up and speak after Mr. Castellini. Again, you were not here because you were doing football, but it was very difficult for me to follow that. I mean, it really was. I mean, he said some things that I'd never heard him say before, and it really touched the nerve with me, you know, letting me know how he felt about me and how the organization feels about me. And again, I'm humbled beyond belief. I can't even talk. So that's the way I feel.
Who would ever thought a little guy growing up in Oakland, California?
Little 5'4" second baseman, 150 pounds from Oakland, California.
And now you're the first guy they see when they walk up to go.
I know, and that in itself is humbling. You know, I drove by the other day. I was leaving, and there it is. You know what I mean? I came in today, you know, and there it is. I mean, I don't. Again, it's mind-boggling.
0-2 on Jay Bruce.
Yeah, he had a situation very similar to this in the first inning. Bruce did, and Wood came around and got him with a fastball up, and Jay chased it up out of the strike zone. You wonder if Wood will try the same thing right here.
Well, they went away with a fastball, didn't miss by much.
You know, it was interesting. Yesterday, he had 2 home runs off Kershaw. And the third time up, last time up, Kershaw was pitching to him. He got ahead in the count, and he kept throwing fastball up, and Bruce took it all the way to 3-2 and then chased it up here. He was not going to let him hit another one on a regular fastball. It was going to be up if he had to hit it out.
Short center field, and able to come in and get it. Sweeney, the Reds strand 2. Joe, thanks again. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
So happy.
My pleasure.
Way to go.
Chris. Thank you very much. How'd you play today?
Almost good enough.
See, that looks like me.
That's a sculpture.
Yeah, exactly. That's a
little more handsome than the real guy. And we show you the results so far for our Meyer text poll question. Here's your chance to win a Fox Sports Ohio Meyer prize pack. Text Meyer, M-E-I-J-E-R, to 37664 to be entered. Good luck to you. Starting pitching, slightly better than Hamilton running. Starting pitching was just extraordinary over the weekend. Leak, Latos, Bailey. Cubs have a 2-0 lead in this series opener at the end of 3. Nate Shearholtz to lead off the Chicago fourth. They've hit solo home runs in each of the last 2 innings, one by Ryan Sweeney and the other by Luis Valbuena to jump in front of Arroyo and the Reds. They're just moments away from getting started down in Arlington, Texas. The Pirates and the Rangers in the first of a 3-game series there. Reds win tonight. They're a game out of first place. 1 game. The Cardinals are off. On the 5th of August, a little more than a month ago, the Reds faced a 6.5 game deficit after losing 7 of their prior 9. On an off day, 2 days later, they dropped to a season high 7 games out of first place. That was August the 7th. Since then, they've gone 21-11 to pull within a game and a half of the division lead. And Shearholtz is out on strikes for the 2nd time. 4 strikeout for Arroyo. Catch Fox Sports allows coverage of the Reds for the rest of the 2013 season in HD quality. And watch every out-of-market game live on over 350 supported mobile and connected devices. MLB.tv today. Baseball everywhere. Sweeney, the home run to the seats in right field, is only time up. Beautiful breaking ball in there to even to count on Sweeney at 2 balls, 2 strikes. Payoff pitch to Ryan Sweeney. And we'll do it once more.
Nice little pitch right there. A little slider slash curveball that Arroyo threw down and into left-handers. He's thrown everything tailing away from Sweeney in this at bat until right now that he comes inside on. He did throw him a breaking ball, kind of a backdoor breaking ball earlier. First time he's come inside there to the guy that has taken him deep.
Chase that pitch down and away and hooks it to the right side. 2 out. By the way, while Joe was in with us, when Shin-Soo Choo got hit by that pitch by Travis Wood, that set an all-time Reds franchise record for most times hit by a pitch in a single season. 25th time for Shin-Soo Choo, to go along with his 97 walks and of course all the base hits. That ball hit hard down the left field line by Bogusevic, and that is a foul ball. Now Ryan Hannigan can come out and visit with Arroyo. We've seen a A number of times already in the game tonight where Arroyo and Hannigan have taken a few different signals from getting on the same page.
And we've seen also Arroyo take a little bit more time, like he did right before the 3-2 pitch that he threw to Ryan Sweeney. He walked way off the mound towards second base. He hardly ever does that. That's his fastball tonight, and it's at 86. I don't know if he's throwing one up around 90 or not, but he's got great sinking action going.
Still 0-2. Banged into center field on an 0-2 pitch. Bogusevic with his first hit. 6th hit in this game for Chicago against Bronson Arroyo. Coming up later in the game, as always, we will have our Miller Time moment presented to you by Miller Lite. Reds on the short end of a 2-0 game. 2 outs, 1 on. Cubs batting in the 4th. Number 8 batter Darwin Barney, who singled to center field his first time up, is the batter. And a roller to his counterpart. Brandon will play it to his left. 1 hit, 1 left. Let's have Frazier, Ludwig, Cozart coming up, down a couple of runs. Brought to you by Toyota. See your Toyota dealer. Visit buyatoyota.com. Toyota, let's go places. And by JTM Food Group, creating great dishes together. The Reds and Fox Sports Ohio would love to send out a happy 90th birthday wish to Marty Gramps Mayer up in Hamilton, Ohio. Marty still lives on his own, still rolling right along at 90 years young. And we're told the highlight of each and every day is getting a chance to watch the Reds on TV. So Marty Mayer, they call him Gramps, up in Hamilton, Ohio. A happy 90th birthday. God bless you, young man. Keep on going. Solo home run by Ryan Sweeney in the Cubs' 2nd inning. Solo home run by Luis Valbuena in the Cubs' 3rd inning. The only scoring of the game thus far. Second time, Todd Frazier will come to bat against Wood. He grounded out to third base, ending the 1st inning. Frazier's bat has certainly come alive during this 6-1 homestand. 10 hits in 30 at bats. 2 doubles, 2 home runs, 5 runs batted in. One ball and 2 strikes. Ryan Ludwig waits on deck, and Zach Kozar due up third in the inning. Plenty of tickets are available the next 2 days, the last 2 days of his homestand. A night game tomorrow night, an afternoon till the 12:35 on Wednesday. And then the Reds will embark on their final road trip of this season. A 3-city, 9-game road trip. Visits to Milwaukee for 3, Houston for 3, an off day, and then a 3-game series in Pittsburgh. Swing and a miss, and that's a 4 strikeout in the game for Travis Wood. Should have read hit a home run off that Toyota sign out in right center field during our game tonight. Vincent Rossi from Blue Ash will win the Tundra. It sits right on top of the ballpark out in left center. Still a chance for you to register to win it at an upcoming game. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. 1 out, nobody on. The Reds have 1 hit since getting a pair of them in the first inning. They got back-to-back 1-out singles by Phillips and Votto, and then Wood able to retire Bruce and Frazier. They had a hit batter in the third with 1 out, 2 outs. Votto had his second hit of the game, but Jay Bruce fly to center. Reds have left 4 men on base through the front 3. Straight up in the air. 2 out.
A very typical fly ball inducing game for Travis Wood. He gets a lot of guys on strikeouts, and he gets them a lot on fly balls. He's one of the least productive pitchers out there when it comes to producing ground balls, but his numbers are all very good. Or run average is very good. Here's what we're talking about as far as the lowest ground ball percentage in the league, and you can be a pretty good pitcher. And beyond this list, there are some pitchers on that list very good. Wood, you know, is very adept at pitching just at the very top of the strike zone. I would imagine that Tony Cingrani is probably the closest pitcher the Reds have to somebody like Wood, who pitches up and gets strikeouts upstairs. Of course, the difference between Wood and Cingrani is about 4 or 5 miles an hour on the fastball.
Well, apparently some fireworks going on tonight between the 2 managers. Orioles playing the New York Yankees. They're tied at 1 that game in the 5th inning, and I mean some serious yelling and screaming going on between Buck Showalter of the Baltimore Orioles and Joe Girardi of the New York Yankees. I don't know who's right and who's wrong, but I know one thing for sure. There are very few people in this world that I could think of, as that one is hammered down the left field line off the bat of Kozar. That'll extend his hitting streak to 14 straight games. And he's in with a stand-up 2-out double.
wanted it up, at least the catcher Navarro did, but he got it just below the letters, and that's where Cozart is able to rip it right past the left fielder. Same combination that produced a big Reds win last night right here.
So now Ryan Hannigan, he was the guy who delivered that game-winning double down the left field line. He flied out to left field. His only time up tonight. Reds are down 2-0. Just to finish that thought, there are very few people in this world I've ever met, Chris, that I would rather tangle with less than Joe Girardi. That is one tough, strong man. I don't care how old he is. One and one to Ryan Hannigan. Reds trying to get on the board here with 2 outs. And it's low and in. And here's that game-winning double by Ryan Hannigan. Carl Crawford went to pick the ball up. And you don't know if it would have made a difference, but when you're safe by that much, oftentimes it can make a difference. The first time Crawford bent over to pick the ball up with his bare hand, he missed it. Now Bueno will throw out Hannigan, and the Reds are out in the 4th inning. They trail as we go to the 5th to Travis Wood and the Cubs 2-0. Reds fans, day after tomorrow, we have a Business Day special. On Wednesday, September the 25th, the Senior Day special as well, thanks to Tri-State Centers for Sight. All Reds fans 16 and older can buy a non-premium ticket at half price. Now make sure to purchase in advance of game day to receive this special offer. That's the New York Mets here at Great American Ballpark. I'd love to have you come on down.
Well, and if you can't come down, you can tune into Fox Sports Ohio right at high noon. Get Reds live with Jim Day and Jeff Pecoro. Of course, game starts at 12:35 that day, and we will carry that ball game all right here on Fox Sports Ohio. What I'm talking about is this Wednesday's game, not the 25th, but this Wednesday's game, not originally scheduled to be on TV, but we have added it to the schedule, so that's the one I'm talking about that you can tune in on. You'll be working radio that day.
I will. I'll be working with my dad on Wednesday. He'll be back in the saddle on the radio side tomorrow night. after having an extraordinary weekend out there at Belterra Casino and Resort. The Marty Brennaman Golf Classic presented by CBTS. All the funds, of course, directly headed to the Reds Community Fund. Charlie Frank and his crew put on another unbelievable event. I was so sorry that I missed it, Chris. I know you were a part of it.
It gets better and better every year. I mean, Charlie Frank and company, and with the help of the folks at Belterra, they put on such a great event. The dinner.
That Jeff Ruby puts that thing together.
Absolutely. 2 days of golf. They had the entertainment last night was a group of comedians. Josh Sneed, of course, Bob Kavoyan, a couple of other really fine comedians, and they brought down the house last night. And we culminated with a big golf tournament today. And unfortunately for you, owner of the Tom Brennaman team, you were the bridesmaid again.
Well, the team that has my sponsorship in it, which you are a part of, starting to become known as the Buffalo Bills of that golf tournament. There's a fly ball in the right field. Runners up again, and one has to believe, after having a chance to talk with each of the individuals on that team, you included privately, that there's a very good chance that there's some changes coming. Looking ahead,
I get the feel that it was kind of an exit interview. Makes me kind of nervous when you show up with HR.
Gut instincts normally don't lie. I'm paying 3,500 bones to finish second. Get ready for Reds action 30 minutes before every game with the Reds live on Fox Sports Ohio. It's presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. Of course, the general manager, who's been hired and fired as frequently as Billy Martin once was, Ed Shepard.
Which would make you the boss.
In the newspapers have his job security tenuous at best. At best. Valbuena homered his last time up. Arroyo's allowed 6 hits, 2 solo home runs. And gone swinging Valbuena, 6 of those in the game for Arroyo. That's his first perfect inning. He'll lead things off when the Reds bat the 5th. Salute P&G and Kroger for their support of the P&G Cincinnati MLB Urban Youth Academy. Construction well underway, and by the summer of 2014, next summer, The Academy will be a state-of-the-art complex featuring free year-round baseball and softball instruction, as well as educational and vocational services to Greater Cincinnati youth ages 6 to 18. It's just extraordinary we have one of these in our city. For more information on the Academy and the Reds Community Fund, visit reds.com/academy. So far, Travis Wood putting on a pitching clinic here tonight. Broken bat pop-up, and Arroyo out to begin the bottom of the fifth with the Reds down 2-0. Travis Wood, a National League All-Star for the first time in his career this season. Wasn't getting much run support, if any at all, early in the year. And obviously when you have an ERA barely over 3 and you have a losing record, you're pitching in some tough luck.
It hasn't been a whole lot different for him. He's had some spurts from time to time, but overall he is very used to these type of ball games where maybe they get him a couple of runs. More often than not, they don't even get him that much. In fact, you have really two pitchers that are at the opposite end of the spectrum here tonight. Travis Wood, the lowest in all the National League. And this is the runs they score for you per game in support. And Bronson Arroyo is up around 5 runs a game. That's the 11th highest in the National League. So Wood has 8 wins, and Arroyo has looking for number 14 tonight.
Do they figure up that stat of while you're in the game? Is
Yes.
that the way that is?
Yes. If you lose, if you leave the game in the 5th inning and they score 10 runs on, in the 7th inning, I don't think it goes on your docket.
Okay.
Because they do the same thing for relievers and so on. But it's a much more telling statistic for starting pitchers, obviously.
To put it in perspective, you go back over the last 14 seasons of baseball, and only Ted Lilly and Greg Smith have received lower run support in a season to what Travis Wood is going through this year. I mean, he's had 2 quality starts against the Reds and lost both of them.
All right, so if Travis Wood gets 5 runs a game in support instead of closer to 3, and if he's knocking on the door of 18 or 19 wins right now because of that swing, and it could be that, do you enter him in the Cy Young Award conversation? Because wins is oftentimes one of the biggest things that you look at, first of all, when you judge a starting pitcher. Of course, nowadays you're breaking it way down, but used to be that, wins and losses, earned run average, number of complete game shutouts, those are the kind of things that you take into consideration.
In the air to left field, and getting turned around the wrong way is Bogusevic. And that'll be a sliding double by Shin-Soo Choo with 1 out here in the Reds' 5th inning. Second time Choo has been on base tonight.
Brian Bogusevic more shows a pitcher's arm out there than an outfielder's wherewithal. He does get turned around. He's playing down the line anyway. Although this ball is going to short hop the wall, I'm not sure that anybody would be able to get back there in time anyway. But he's got a gun, and he put that ball right on the money. I think that Choo probably was surprised to see how close that play was at second base.
Wood has had 6 losses in quality starts this year as you get a look at Bogusevic. A ball flying over his head at the base of the wall, and that cannon for an arm. We mentioned he was a former #1 pick as a pitcher. Look at that throw. Right on the back.
So he's had 6 losses in games in which he's pitched at least 6 innings and given up 3 runs or less.
And the only pitcher in the National League who has more of those than Travis Wood is Philadelphia left-hander Cole Hamels.
Tough year for him too.
Yep. So now the The big bats in a lineup with a chance to do some damage. Phillips is 1 for 2 as a single to right field. He's also popped up to the second baseman. And Votto will follow, and Joey's 2 for 2 tonight. Still playing with a very, very tender quad bruise, strain after the collision. Hard slide, clean slide out at second base by Matt Holliday during the Cardinals series. And Brandon has gone looking, and there are 2 outs in the inning. It's 5 strikeouts for Travis Wood.
That's a little cut fastball right there, and Travis Wood is always had that pitch, but this year the difference for Wood is his real good control over that. When he misses away. When he was with the Reds and he's given up a lot of home runs, he was missing with that pitch right down the middle. But he's found a good arm slot and release point for it. That's a dandy pitch that really tough to prepare for if you're a hitter up there.
Votto 6 hits in his last 10 at bats. He's reached base safely in 11 of his last 15 plate appearances. All of that on the heels of an 0 for 13 stretch. Both singles tonight into left field. 1 ball and 1 strike to Joey Votto.
Funny, Joey Votto went 0 for 13, and people were talking like he was going 0 for 30. But that's what happens when you're essentially the face of the franchise because of the contract that you have. You're hitting third in the lineup. I mean, you're under the microscope. So you have about a third amount of the patience with your efforts than other guys on the team may have. All right, I found out the name of the comedians who were so good at Marty Brennaman golf outing last night. Drew Hastings, who's the mayor of Hillsborough, Ohio, literally is the mayor. Boy, he's a funny guy. And Greg Hahn. And Bob Kaboyan, of course, from the Bob and Tom show. And Josh Snead.
Well, Votto kicking himself up there. He has had back-to-back pitches, just a hammer in this at bat, and has fouled them both straight back to the screen.
Yeah, how many pitches really have the Reds centered tonight? Chu got one pretty good opposite way. Zach Cozart hit one down the left field line. There haven't been a lot of line drives out there. Both Votto's hits have been little balls going the other way. Muscle jobs.
And the inning is over. 1 hit, 1 man left. We played 5 where the Cubs lead the Reds 2-0.
Jim Day with you, and Homer Bailey is an avid horseman. In fact, he owns 2 horses, and during the regular season he keeps them in the area, keeps them in Ross, rode them this morning, and when he got to the ballpark he had a big surprise from fellow pitcher Jonathan Broxton. A new saddle coming from the King Ranch in Texas. Homer says this ranch is so exclusive he's never seen a saddle made from the King Ranch, but it's included with his name on it, and on the side the dates of his 2 no-hitters. It says 2 no-hitters with the dates there. A very special thing. Now, Homer's not a guy that, I don't know, gets excited about too many things, but he was very excited in the clubhouse today, and they wouldn't tell me the price of this bad boy, but I am estimating that saddle about 10 grand. That's how nice it was. So a big gesture by teammate Jonathan Broxton for Homer Bailey.
Well, that is a very nice gift indeed. Bouncing ball by Anthony Rizzo and Brandon Phillips as we open the 6th inning with the Reds down 2-0. Boy, that was cool with the dates of the no-hitters in there. That was really nice.
That's a great gift, and not because it costs a lot of money.
Sure.
I mean, but because, you know, Jonathan Broxton went through the process of thinking what would mean something to him, and that is very cool. Boy, what a good teammate.
Tiana Navarro, the batter. He is singled into right field and had a hit taken away by Brandon Phillips. What a sliding play to his left in the 3rd inning. 5 of the last 7 balls the Cubs have put into play were ground outs to the Reds' second baseman. Arroyo's retired the last 5 and 9 of the last 10 since a home run by Valbuena made it 2-0 in the 3rd inning. 1-2 on Navarro. Broken bat roller. Time for Frazier. 2 out.
Here's tonight's whip brought to you by Head & Shoulders. Now with a hint of Old Spice, and Bronson Arroyo has been setting them down by strikeouts tonight. He's got 6 of them overall. He's had Nate Shearholtz twice, once swinging, and got him the second time up there looking. And Shearholtz, a left-hander, you figure would match up pretty good, but he just hasn't figured out Bronson Arroyo tonight. 0 for 2 with a couple of punch outs, and here he is in the batter's box. Our Head & Shoulders whiff brought to you by Head & Shoulders with a hint of Old Spice.
Arroyo turning in another dandy performance here, but no run support yet behind him. He trails 2-0, and here's Shearholtz. 2 down and nobody on.
Since we're talking about run support, the old saying, it's not how you pitch, it's when you pitch, seems to be pretty appropriate.
Breaking ball at the belt on a 2-0 pitch, and that's in there a strike.
I mean, how many pitchers throw a 69-mile-an-hour breaking ball at the top of the strike zone and get away with it? I mean, you don't get away with that pitch in junior varsity, most guys.
Flipped it up there that time at 75. And that runs a count full on Shearholtz. down the right field line towards the corner. And that is a fair ball that bounces up and over the wall. Ground rule double for the Cubs right fielder Nate Shearholtz. So the inning will continue for Ryan Sweeney, who is homered and bounced out to second base.
A long at bat by Shearholtz finally gets a pitch that he likes, and it was kind of down around the ankles and right out over the center of the plate.
Arroyo trying to keep it at a 2-0 spread. Runner at second base, 2 outs here in the 6th. Pirates and the Rangers are scoreless. That game in the bottom of the 3rd inning down in Arlington, Texas. Here it's 2-0 Chicago. And up and away, a ball and a strike on Sweeney. Brandon will come in and get it. And Arroyo, 6 innings of 2-run baseball. He has Bruce, Frazier, and Ludwig coming up. The Reds, only the 11th manager in history to win 500 or more games with 2 different franchises, which takes us directly into our AT&T trivia question. Besides Dusty, who are the only other active managers with 500 or more wins with multiple franchises? I bet you some folks are going to get this one. Maybe not both of them, but at least one. Because both of these guys, obviously, like Dusty, they have been around a long time. One of them looks like he's been around a lot longer than the other.
Whoever that may be.
And I say that because he's a friend, and I like him a lot, and always enjoy seeing him. When we see him, rare albeit. He is quite a guy. Fun to be around. Jay Bruce leading off the Reds' bottom of the 6th inning and lifts a fly ball into shallow center field. That'll be the first out here with the Reds down 2-0. Jay, after a big night last night, 0 for 3 tonight. Both of his plate appearances prior to that one had come with 2 on in an inning. Todd Frazier.
I always think that's somewhat of an intriguing matchup when you have Bruce and Travis Wood going at each other, because they were both drafted in the same year, back to back. 2005, Jay Bruce went in the first round, and Travis Wood right behind them. Both high school players. Bruce came out of Beaumont, Texas, and Travis Wood out of Bryant, Arkansas.
Sherolds waits on the fly ball off the bat of Frazier, and the first 2 retired by Wood here in the 6th inning.
You know, it always seems like when you're not hitting that there's not a lot of energy going on because the other pitcher's dominating. But you wonder if there just might be a little bit of an emotional letdown after playing a hard 4-game series with the Cardinals. 1 extra inning game that lasted deep into the night. You win 3 out of 4 there. Then you welcome the Dodgers, and you culminate it with a night of Homer Bailey versus Clayton Kershaw last night. Walk-off victory. 2 of the 3 games decided as walk-off victories by the Reds. I mean, how long can you keep that emotional level at a peak before you kind of come back to earth?
That one blistered down the left field line off the bat of Ludwig, and Ryan into second base with a 2-out double. And Chris, not only all that, I think you bring up a great point, but also knowing that the opponent that is coming into your town is a team that you have absolutely, thoroughly, in every way imaginable dominated. The Reds over the last 4 years have won 48 games, losing only 18 against the Cubs. And to put it in perspective, only one other team has beaten a team with more frequency in all of baseball than the Reds have beaten the Cubs since 2010. And that would be one more win the Rangers have over the Seattle Mariners with 49 wins. I mean, the Reds, if there was ever the old adage about just roll the ball out there and you're going to beat a team, that has been the story for the Reds against these Cubs since the Cubs kicked them around in 2009. Well, maybe they can sort of snap out of it here and get a big hit from Kozai.
Well, they had a big hit his last time up. Wood tried to go up the ladder with a fastball, if you remember, and he got that ball just down below the letters, and that's the one that Kozar rifled down the left field line. 2 outs, nobody holding Ludwig on. Any kind of base hit's going to score him that goes out of the infield. Forget it.
That is 7 strikeouts in the game now for Travis Wood. And we move to the 7th inning. 2-0 Cubs in front. Gene, we zero in on Bronson Arroyo, who has recorded his lowest single season whip so far this year. That would be walks and hits per innings pitched. Then you divide it by the number of innings pitched, the walks and the hits, and that's where you get it.
You doing math on TV, are you?
I'm not doing anything. I'm just reading the copy. Nothing more, nothing less.
Actually, that is a pretty good way of evaluating a pitcher. It's essentially says, how often does a pitcher get himself in trouble? By giving up hits and walks. And the whip is becoming more and more a way that people take a look at pitching. Not quite as sophisticated as WAR. I know that you may, hopefully will explain that to us before the end of the season.
I would leave that up to you.
Wins above replacement, what we're talking about there. That's about all I can tell you about it, except it's confusing.
And after thinking about taking it himself, Votto flips to Arroyo to get the out of Bogusevic, leading off this 7th inning.
This is the one thing that I really find impressive about Arroyo. And if you go back the last 7 years, or about the last 6 years, Arroyo's walks per 9 innings have gone down every year. I mean, he's finally decided at age, what, 35 or 36, I'm not going to walk anybody anymore. Did that last year. I mean, that makes a difference, especially in this ballpark.
Well, as we get closer and closer to the end of the season, and however far the Reds may last into the postseason, there is going to be a great deal written. There's going to be a lot of talk about, are we watching Bronson Arroyo pitch for the final time at home? Are we watching him pitch for the final time on the road? Are we watching him pitch for the final time as a Red, period? Contract is up at the end of the year. And while you'd love to keep everybody, you can't keep everybody unless you're the Dodgers or the Red Sox or the Yankees or somebody like that. If he were pitching for one of those teams, the chances are more than likely he would be back with that particular team. I think there's very little doubt about that, because he has just had a great, and it really has been a great, Reds career. That one pulled foul and out of play tonight. Doesn't necessarily mean that tonight we have to start talking about that kind of thing, but you will start hearing a lot more about it sooner rather than later.
And it really is a lot more complicated than it appears on the surface as to whether he will be re-signed here or not.
Jam shot roller. He just ate up Barney. Cozart will throw him out. 2 away. This guy, since they got him, has just put together really mind-boggling numbers. We talk about him all the time, and since he came to the Reds, he has more wins than any pitcher in the National League. Now you can say, well, there are guys that have moved from this league to that league. That's all true, but that is a stat that cannot be denied. He's made more starts than any pitcher in all of Major League Baseball. There's a fly ball to center field off the bat of Woods. 7 innings, 2 runs allowed tonight by Arroyo. The spot due up second with the Reds bat in the bottom of the inning. Ballpark, and you can do so with half-price student tickets in the month of September, thanks to First Student. Cheer on the Reds. Enjoy up to 4 tickets at half price on select sections, and it's only for Sunday through Thursday home games. That means you have 2 tomorrow, and then over the next couple of days, and then you have 3 of those on that last home state. 513-381-REDS or visit reds.com/student. We answer our Aflac or AT&T trivia question, rather. Boy, I just can't get out of that habit for so long. Besides Dusty Baker, the other active managers to win 500 or more games with multiple franchises, and they are Jim Leyland, Bruce Bochy. And for both of them, their second stop has gone a lot better than the first stop. Of course, for Jim Leyland, he had the 3 straight division titles with the Pirates very early on in his tenure. 90, 91, 92, not another winning season. And now he's on one of the real juggernaut clubs year in and year out over the American League. And for Bruce Bochy, again, smaller market team, San Diego. Got to the World Series with a team in San Diego. Got to, 3 trips to the playoffs. But he goes to San Francisco, where they had not won a World Series since they left New York. And he's won 2 of them.
Yeah. So, but I want to know the answer to the question of which of those guys looks the most beat up, in your opinion?
I will leave that up the eye of the beholder. By the way, Jim Leyland did win a World Series with the Marlins. You forget about that stop that he had. That's when they won it in, what was that, 1997. Oh, and 1 to Ryan Hannigan. You have the pitcher spot due up next. And then we go back to the top of the order in Shin-Soo Choo. Reds are down 2-0. Wood has only given them 6 base hits, but the only inning where they had more than 1 hit was the very first inning. Jam shot, pop up, and coming in to get it is Bogus 7.
Well, he has been in on the knuckles a lot tonight. In fact, both the base hits the Reds had in the first inning by Philip Zimbardo, they were both either broken bats or in on the knuckles.
Natali Soto will come on and bat for Arroyo. Turned in a beautiful performance again here tonight. Dick Bronson. 7 innings, 7 hits, 2 runs earned, did not walk a batter, struck out 6. Yeah, the Cubs are a team that, because of the division in which they play, a division where you have 3 teams right now that would be in the playoffs, and you have 3 teams separated by a total of a game and a half for the division lead. They are going to at least have something to say one way or the other about who might win the National League Central. They've got these 3 against the Reds, final 3 between these 2 teams on the year. They leave here and play 4 games over the weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday in Pittsburgh, along with Sunday's finale. And then they play the final 3 games of the regular season in St. Louis.
I thought some interesting comments were made by the Cubs manager Dale Swaim about that. He says, we're not trying to be spoilers. We're just trying to have our team show what it's like to play a pennant contending team, how they play, the energy they bring to the ball game, because it's good for our guys to witness that.
Two pop-ups at the left fielder, and now the Reds roll over to the top of the order with 2 outs and nobody on. Travis Wood does not have a complete game. Tonight is his career high 29th start of the year. He has never beaten his former team, the Reds. And he has certainly pitched well enough multiple times to have picked up victories against the Reds. 3 times this year. 6 1/3, 2 runs in April. 7 innings, 2 runs in June. 8 innings, 2 runs in August. He has not walked a batter all night, struck out 7. He did hit a batter, and that's a man who's in there now. There's action for the first time all night long in the Cub bullpen. 100th pitch of the night by Wood. And he's going to retire Chu to end the inning. 7 innings of shutout baseball by Travis Wood. It's 2-0, the Cubs in front. For the Kentucky Honda dealer on the game summary. Chicago's second inning, Ryan Sweeney, his 6th home run of the year, made it 1-0. 1 inning later, solo home run, Luis Valbuena, number 11. 2-0. And that has been more than enough so far for the former Red Travis Wood. He's dealing tonight, Chris.
He's really dealing tonight, and he seems to be almost possessed in his quest for beating the Reds for the first time ever. Former 2nd-round draft pick for the Reds in 2005, and he is putting up a lot of zeros tonight. Has a 2-run lead, giving up only 6 hits overall, and the Reds will counter now with a new pitcher when they pinch hit for Bronson Arroyo. They need to make a change, and now it is another guy that was drafted in that 2005 draft. He came in the 13th round, right after Carlos Fisher, Adam Rosales, and now Logan Ondrusek. So that was a haul of a draft year. 2005 is going back a ways, but the Reds have something to show for that. 43 games now for the big, tall right-hander from Shiner, Texas.
And Adam Rosales still hanging in there with the Oakland Athletics. Today, by the way, tonight was Bronson Arroyo's 6th start of this season, where he struck out 6 or more batters while not walking a single hitter. Only Cliff Lee and Matt Harvey have more such starts this year than Bronson Arroyo. But he leads right now as the pitcher of decision, trailing 2-0. Starlin Castro, first pitch swinging, 0 for 4 night for him. And it's going to be 1 batter and out for Logan Ondrusek. Manny Parra's ready in the bullpen. This will be our Skyline Chili call to the pen. Reds are trailing 2-0. once more will donate a Toyota Tundra to the hometown heroes at Matthew 25 Ministries. Members of this extraordinary humanitarian and disaster relief organization will be down on the field and honored, then awarded the Tundra by Reds COO Phil Castellini before the Reds take on the Pirates. All compliments of your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealer. Manny Parra comes on to face Luis Valbuena. And then the left-handed batting Anthony Rizzo. Boy, it's really put together. I guess you could argue about it, but I don't know why you would. This has been, although certainly in a very different role, his most effective major league season.
You're right, and maybe he's found his little niche. Coming in to be a left-handed one guy only. 49 games now for this hard-throwing left-hander. Here's why he's in the ball game right now. That 187 batting average against left-handed hitters.
Of course, like all Central Division teams, most of these guys have seen a lot of Manny Parra because he has pitched his entire major league career inside this division. They are already in the bottom of the 5th inning in Arlington, Texas. Rangers with 2 outs, nobody on, no score. Garrett Cole and Yu Darvish, and a good one, and a quick one so far tonight in Texas. Valbuena, 2 hits and 3 at bats, hit a ball hard at Joey Votto. It was originally ruled an error after it got by Votto and went into right field. It was later changed to a double. Valbuena homered in the 3rd inning, struck out swinging in the 5th.
You know, for Manny Parra, he has made his life better by simplifying it. And I think a lot of that has to do with the 2 pitching coaches the Reds have. Of course, Brian Price, you hear a whole lot. You don't hear a lot about Mac Jenkins. Mac Jenkins is under the stands in the video room doing a lot of video work and looking up different statistics on guys and how things work and so on. And one of the things they decided with Parra is to shed the curveball. That he just wasn't getting as many guys out with that curveball as he thought he was. He was a guy that Parra, that is, had lots of different pitches. And they said, you know, if you're going to pitch in relief like this, you can just simplify things. Don't try to be a pitcher where you throw, you know, 2 different kinds of fastballs, 2 different kinds of breaking balls, fastball and a curveball, or a curveball and a slider, and a split finger, which is his changeup. I think making it simpler for Manny has really improved his approach a little bit. '96-mile-per-hour fastball, knee-high outside edge, 2 out. A long pitch-by-pitch here between Manny Parra and Luis Valbuena. We're going to bring it to you courtesy of Mazda. And a lot of sliders in this at bat. He goes upstairs a couple of times now trying to get him, and Valbuena just fighting him off. Breaking ball down in the dirt. He finally gets him with a fastball right on the outside corner after seemingly a 10-pitch at bat. But that's a good effort by Manny Parra. 8-pitch at bat.
That ball hit hard, but Ludwig got a good jump on it off the bat of Rizzo, and the inning is over. So Phillips, Votto, Bruce coming up. Reds need some offense. Down 2. Game, our Miller Time moment brought to you by Miller Lite. 1 year ago today, Tony Cingrani struck out 5 working out of the bullpen.
Yeah, we had heard a lot about Tony Cingrani. When Zia saw him, you're saying, well, that's minor leagues and this is the big league. Well, he is on the hill tomorrow. He'll be facing Edwin Jackson.
Edwin Jackson celebrating a birthday today along with Billy Hamilton.
Well, you're up on the birthdays.
Well, they just put it up on the board a little while ago. Cingrani has just had an outstanding year. I am stunned that Travis Wood is out of the game. Are you surprised?
Well, he was over the 100-pitch mark. I don't know if that's the magic number nowadays or not, but they will go to their setup man, and their setup man is Pedro Strop from San Cristobal, Dominican Republic, in for the 29th time. Having a pretty good year, Strop is. Look at the opponent batting average at 168.
Wood retired the last 4. And 10 of the last 12. But he's out of the game. We'll see if the Reds can come back against Strop in the Cubbies bullpen.
Well, they like his arm a lot. He came over in the trade that sent Scott Feldman. Remember him, big, tall, right-handed starter the Cubs had. They sent him to Baltimore, and they got Strop in return.
That is a foul ball. Oh, my. Not sure about that call, and neither was Brandon Phillips. That's Paul Lemel, the first base umpire. You know what, though, when you raise your hands like this, and I know that's the right way to call it, but you know, my old broadcast partner, Joe Garagiola, right? I'd work with Joe from time to time, the Hall of Famer, legendary baseball announcer and TV personality. You know, he'd always talk about sell the call, like you know exactly what it was. Well, all of a sudden you throw those hands in the foul ground and say that's a foul ball.
I couldn't agree
the old school way, just throwing your hands up in the air, and again, that's the correct way of doing it.
Well, the closer the call, the more emphatic an umpire should be, and you'll get a lot fewer arguments that way. You're just showing everybody how much you absolutely, beyond a doubt, know that you had it right.
And he had it right. Our replay showed he had it right. 2-2 on Brandon Phillips. Well, he got the heart of the order here. Brandon 1 of 3, single back in the first inning. Votto has a pair of singles in the game. But after that is where things have gone very quiet in the Reds lineup. Bruce Frazier combined 0 for 6 tonight. Ludwig is hitless his first 2 times up before a double the last time up. 3-2 now on Brandon Phillips.
Stroke will walk you. He averages about a walk every other inning.
Brandon taking a little bit of extra time before he settles in before this 3-2 pitch. Reds a proverbial bloop and a blast away from tying this game up. Batting here in the last of the 8th inning. And that's ball 4 to start it. That is a first walk to a Reds batter. In fact, it's a first walk to a batter for either team all night long. Shoe was hit by a pitch. Now the Cubs have some pretty doggone dependable left-handers. One in particular down there in that bullpen. That being James Russell, but he is not getting loose. They want to get a look at, you know, how some of these youngsters will fare in ball games. Learn something about them. Votto slicing away, but able to get there is Bogusevic. So after the walk, Votto going up there and taking a big swing at the first pitch down and away from him, and that's the first out in the inning. One to Jay Bruce. Off speed in their strike to get ahead at 1-2. Swing and a miss, and a throw down to second base not going to be in time. 2 outs in the inning.
That's pretty heads-up base running by Brandon Phillips, because he had very little lead over there at first base. You know, we've talked about his leg bothering him. He saw that ball get away on the strikeout, and he was off to second.
So now Todd Frazier 0 for 3 has bounced to third, struck out, and flied out to right. Then he began with a walk to Brandon Phillips. Votto flied out on the first pitch of his at bat, and Bruce disposed of in 4 pitches. How about that right there? First pitch slider in there, a strike. Came back with another one to get ahead 0-2. Line drive at Rizzo, and that'll do it for the Reds in the 8th inning. We're on our way to the 9th. Cubs still in front, 2-0. Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by Cincinnati Children's Hospital, now the #1 ranked pediatric cancer center in the country, according to U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. And by Chevy. Stop by your Tri-State Chevy dealer. Check out their full line of fuel-efficient vehicles. Morel hot dog play of the game. Brandon Phillips made back-to-back outstanding plays in that Chicago 3rd inning. Well, Joe Morgan was up here with us in the booth. Brandon clearly still bothered by that left quad injury.
He's been involved in 2 innings worth of putouts or assists tonight. Had a line drive hit at him and 5 ground ball opportunities.
Manny Parra got the final 2 outs in the 8th inning, so he will face Navarro, Shearholtz, and Sweeney here in the 9th. And the switch batting Navarro almost fell over. May have injured his ankle or injured something after chasing that high fastball, and we'll see if he rolled over an ankle doing that. I don't know. Maybe a knee.
I think his back foot caught a little bit, and I saw it roll over a little bit that down around the ankle. He's a little bigger than he was when he was with the Reds. I saw the, you know what that happens when you're in Chicago, you play all those day games, you can go out and have 1,000 different restaurants to choose from.
You're not lying about that.
You're playing all night games, of course. They're all closed. You probably took advantage of that one.
You know what? I didn't. I didn't actually. You know, being young and single and all that kind of thing.
Places you went never closed.
Well, that's the reason you go somewhere. You like it so much you don't want it to close. There's a line drive into right center field, caught by Chu. You know, it's funny you say that, though. I do look back at Steve Stone, one of my partners back there, used to invite me regularly to go out to dinner. And, you know, after a day game, it's like a lot of folks at home right now. They're gone to work all day long, and it's very much like going to work under normal working hours, and then you'd go on the road and you'd play all night games, and then when you get back home, I don't know, you never seemed like your body clock was right. And I know this has been a point of debate for a long time, and you know, whether you're talking about playing all the day games that they've played in Chicago, of course they're up to 18 night games a year. They want to play more than that with all the renovation they're going to do at Wrigley Field if they ever get that through. all the issues that need to be taken care of through the government, et cetera, et cetera. But at any rate, you know, does the weather, playing in all that hot weather, you know, the hot days in Chicago, does it wear players down? You know, Ron Santo used to say all the time, didn't have anything to do with it. But you talk with the other 7 or 8 guys that play with him on a regular basis on that 1969 Cub team that folded up shop over the last 2 months of the year when they played no night games. And every one of those guys will tell you it had a lot to do with it. And Chris, you know how, I mean, you do a lot of delving into researching into, you know, biorhythms and body clock and all that kind of thing. There is no way you can make me believe that when half the time you're working at night and the other half of the time you're working during the day, that there aren't enough days over the course of a 6-month time frame where you're just a little bit out of whack. And that can mean the difference in winning and losing a game.
There are a lot of managers who feel that that's been an important factor there.
We've talked about this before. As here's ball 4 on Sherholtz. And I had Ed Lynch come up to me, who was a longtime general manager of the Cubs. And it was one of the nicest things somebody had ever said to me that works inside of baseball, and said, you could not have been more accurate in believing that. He said, because I have watched it every single day for the last 15 years. Now, they've had some good teams, but they have not been to a World Series since 1945. And there has to be something more than just saying they weren't one of the best 12 or 14 or 16 or teams in a league, or had bad luck since 45. There have to be other factors involved, right? And that might be one of them.
That could be one of them. And not only just the daytime night guy and the time starts, but the different daytime starts.
Well, they've tried to whittle those down.
I think we played, in fact, the Reds, I think this year played a 3-game series there, and every game started at a different time.
And I think television, national television, may have had something to do with that. They have done their best because of your point to try and change that. There was a time where they would play their regular day games at 1:20. Every Friday they would play at 2:20. And then what would happen is, because of national television, blackout windows, that kind of thing, they'd be forced to play a lot of Saturday games at noon. Nissan drive at a game. They got the Cubs on the board, and so far that's all they've needed. The home run by Sweeney off Bronson Arroyo. Valbuena added a solo home run in the 3rd. And now 1 on, 1 out here in the top of the 9th against Manny Parra. He's fallen behind another left-handed batter. 3 balls and a strike.
Boy, it looked like Mike DeMuro had a notion on that one, did it? Almost looked like he flinched. That pitch clearly outside, according to Fox Tracks.
Now Parra trying to come back from 3-1 down on Sherholtz. And Manny Parra has walked left-handed batters Sherholtz and Sweeney. Dusty Baker left him in there to get the left-handed batters out. He got the right-handed batter out. Walks a couple of lefties, and now we're going to have another left-handed batter, Bogusevic, coming up there. Well, coming up tonight and after every Reds game, you know the drill here on Fox Sports Ohio. Jim Day, Jeff Pecoro and company will break it all down. We call it Reds Live, brought to you by Kings Honda in the Kings Auto Mall. Visit KingsHondaUSA.com. Reds are already down 2-0, and now big situation here for Manny Parra. He has walked consecutive batters with 1 out in the inning, and now turns his attention to Bogusevic.
Hey, the meeting may have been about stop messing around with the breaking ball and throw the fastball. Throw it up and throw it hard.
Bogusevic really doing Parra a favor there on that first pitch fastball. That was up and in. That's a dandy there at 95. Oh, and 2 to Bogusevic, 2 on, 1 out, and again barely making contact, but contact nonetheless to keep this at bat alive. Straight up in the air, appears to be playable in foul ground, and Frazier falls into the stands. Hopefully he's all right. He'll get some help from the fans. And
I think he may have lost that ball. You see that he made a last lunge for it right there. Certainly catchable had he been able to get over the wall in time. But I think he just lost that ball up in the sky and ends up making some friends.
Oh, and 2 once more on Bogusevic. He's fouled away 3 in a row. Make it 4. Parra tries once more to put him away with 2 on and 1 out. And here comes a pitch. That's 5 straight foul balls by Bogusevic after he fell behind 0-2. Finally got him swinging. That's a second strikeout for Parra, second out of this inning. And that's all for Parra. Gives him an inning and a third. So far, no runs. He's walked 2, not allowed a hit. And the Reds will give the ball to Alfredo Simon. trots in from the bullpen. Reds still on the short end of a 2-0 game with 2 on and 2 out in the Cubs' 9th inning. A team with Feeding America, a nationwide network of food banks. It helps feed more than 37 million people in America every year through pantries, soup kitchens, and shelters. Visit feedingamerica.org/Fox Sports and you can learn how you can help fight hunger in your community. Together, we're feeding America. Alfredo Simon enters this one with 2 on and 2 out in the top of the 9th inning. 2, the magic number. Reds down 2. And he's on to face right-handed batting second baseman Darwin Barney. Reds will have Ludwig, Cozart, Hannigan. They're hoping to get something started against Kevin Gregg, who is the Chicago closer. And safe to say he's the one getting loose down in their bullpen right now. He has 30 saves on the year. That's him right there. Here we are in the bottom of the 8th inning, and relatively speaking, although it's starting to, certainly the pace slowed down a lot more after the 2 walks and a pitching change here in the 9th. There's a tapper. Frazier's got it. Try to tag the runner and makes a play. I think they're saying the tag was made and that the out was at third base.
4 outs.
All right, here we go. Bottom of the 9th. Reds down 2.
copyrighted telecast is presented by authority of the Cincinnati Reds and may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form. And the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Reds will bat in the bottom of the 9th inning, trailing 2-0 to the Cubs. Travis Wood, 7 innings, 6 hits, no runs. Fan 7, walk none. Pedro Strop walked a batter, hitless, scoreless inning. Subway in-game box score. Not much to talk about for the Reds here tonight. But can they change that here in the last of the 9th inning? They won in their final at bat each of the last 2 games. Why not a hat trick? Kevin Gregg has resurrected his career as a closer. He's remained in the big leagues and been a pretty effective pitcher, but now back in the closer's role after they cut loose Carlos Marmol.
Yeah, 174 career saves for Gregg. Not an overpowering fastball pitcher. It hovers around 90. But he's one of those guys, very much like Travis Wood, the starter. Kind of quick arm action. He throws out of his shirt. Very deceptive. They'll throw some sliders and a little splitter in there as well.
Ludwig struck out. Fly to center. Double. Down the left field line his last time up. And Gregg, throughout his career, has also been a guy who at times struggled with command. He's walked 29 batters in 56 innings. That's a lot of walks. I mean, the Cubs have a number of starting pitchers, including 3 in their current rotation that have not walked as many batters as Gregg has walked, and he's their closer. 2-2 the count. Three balls and 2 strikes on Ryan Ludwig, leading off the bottom of the 9th inning. High fly ball in the right center field, and the right fielder calling it all the way. 1 out.
Looked like that time Kevin Gregg just got tired of nibbling around the corners and said, here it is. I've got a 2-run lead. Even if you give up a solo shot right there, you're still in the lead. Ball right down Broadway, and Ludwig got a lot of it, but not enough.
Zach Cozart, 1 of 3 in a game, robbed of a hit in the 2nd inning on a great play made by Castro deep in a hole at short from short left field, threw him out.
You know, that ball like by Ludwig, that's a ball that when he is in his normal shape, strength, you know, having been able to lift all winter long, that's a ball that goes out of here next year.
This ball's going to find the gap, and Cozart has his 2nd double of the night. He's already extended his hitting streak tonight to 14 games. And he's aboard, which will give the Reds a chance with 1 crack of the bat to tie this game up.
Now he's got a couple of doubles, 1 down the left field line. This one he splits the seam between center and right. He's just seeing the ball so well.
Now Ryan Hannigan stood on the on-deck circle for a number of seconds, looking in that dugout, wondering if they were going to pinch hit for him. And he kept waiting and waiting and waiting and looking in there and figured, well, I'm back.
Well, now they finally gave him a signal. They pointed to home plate and said, you go on up there. Guy that came up with a big hit last night.
In their strike, they have Xavier Paul, left-handed batter, standing in the on-deck circle. That's a pitcher spot next. Reds down to their final 2 outs. But they get a 1-out double here in the bottom of the 9th inning by Cozart, which brings a tying run to the plate. 0-2 on Hannigan. Reds only have 2 left-handed batters on their bench. Hanahan and Paul. They do have switch hitters. Is Turris, Hamilton, Robinson, Rodriguez.
You see what Greg tries to do. I mean, if you're going to hurt him with a long ball, you're going to have to earn it by hitting it the other way.
Hit hard, but right at the left fielder. Sinking line drive caught out there by Bogusevic, and the Reds are down to their final out of the night.
Boy, right on the button for Ryan Hannigan.
And Xavier Paul will bat for Alfredo Simon, who gives him a 3rd of an inning, retiring the only batter he faced. Travis Wood, the front 7, 6 hits, no runs. He has never beaten the team with whom he began his major league career. See the pinch hitting numbers for Xavier Paul. 3 pinch hit home runs, 2nd most in the league, 4th most runs batted in. Reds down to their final out. Two 2-0 on Xavier Paul. On the ground to Darwin Barney, and the Cubs have come into Cincinnati and really thrown the brakes on the recent roll the Reds have been on this homestand. 3 pitchers, Wood, Strop, Gregg, combined on a 7-hit shutout. Reds leave 9 men on base, and they lose tonight by a final count of 2-0. Reds Live, the post-game version, is coming up next right here on Fox Sports Live.